Hello everyone, my name is Antonio Robinson and I'd like to welcome you to my older adult oral video presentation. For my interviewee, I chose my grandmother, Barbara Jean Robinson. She is an African American female. She is 75 years old and she has 5 biological children and 1 that is adopted. She is the matriarch of the family and keeps us all together, keeps us laughing, keeps us going, and just gives us all a sense of our own well-being. And this is how we learn how to work together and be as a family through my grandmother. Oops, sorry about that there. But the stage that I chose to interview my grandmother with is the integrity versus despair, which is Erikson's 8th stage of this psychosocial development. You know, it's the stage when people are taking a full look at their life experience from their childhood. And when I was doing this with my grandmother, I was like, just as far back as you can remember, what were some of the successes and some of the things that you may have regretted throughout your life. In doing this research, what I found is with despair. Despair happens when a person faces challenges during this time in their development. And, despair can happen at any point in our lives. With just any challenge. And, when I said that word to her, like despair, it was just like it was non-existent because she's never known what despair, really was or really meant. The next you have integrity. Integrity goes a long way as well. Is a way that a person comprehends their complexities in life and comes to terms with it. Being having integrity is, being truthful. Just knowing what is right and how it feels to you as a person. And that's one thing I can say that my grandmother has. She is full of integrity, full of vigor. You never see her gloomy, never have a sense of doubt or despair on her face at all. And one quote that really stuck out to me during my reading and research in this process was Erikson states, "Healthy children will not fear life if their elders has integrity enough to not fear death." And the more I pondered on that, I was like, this really does, make sense. Because when I was younger, and I always told my grandmother, I said, you're gonna live forever. It's like, you're not gonna die. She's like, no, son. It's like, you guys were gonna die, and you just better get your soul right, because I will see you in heaven. We're gonna be a big family in heaven. I was like, no. I said, you're gonna live forever. But the older I got, I started to understand this concept. And even until this day, she tells me, she's not afraid of death. She enjoys life and she loves the Lord and she knows where she's going to be. And she instills that in us, her children, her grandchildren, that, get your soul right. And that just gives me so much motivation to live my life to the best of my ability and to accomplish everything that I can while I'm able, so that I won't live life with regret. So I found this quote to be very on point of how she has taught us. And that's one thing that I teach my son too, is that, son, you gotta live life, love God, be successful, work hard at it, and don't let anything keep you from your goal or to keep you from where you need to be in your life. This was a fun interview, just really get to pick my grandmother's brain a lot. Things that I kind of had forgotten about, and things that, is still like really clear to her. And when I asked about her life experience, the first thing that she said was having Christ in her life. That's the first thing that came out of her mouth. And she will say that constantly, is about having Christ in her life, putting God first. So when she got God in her life, that was a big, big life experience for her. Getting married was another big part of her life. She's been married for going on 57 years now. This July, I believe she said it'll be 58. Should be 58. She didn't graduate high school. I think she said she made it to 11th grade, and she tried to go back a couple times to night school, but she just stopped going. It wasn't that the work was challenging or hard. And I said, why didn't you graduate? She's like, I just got tired of going, and that was just like, kids nowadays, we can't say we just get tired of going, and, that has a lot of consequences. But I do remember, her graduating, with her CNA certification, and how that came to pass was she would go to nursing homes and just visit people. And the supervisor just recognized her coming in there all the time and making people smile and making people feel good about their lives, in their latter stages. And she loved working with people. And then they offered her a job. And so she was able to go back to school, and they put her through school to get her CNA certificate, which I thought was phenomenal, and that was really great. Another part in her life was having children, and skipping down to the bottom too. She adopted a child from social service from one of the friends of the family, and she said his life was, so she tuck him in, just pretty much how she does throughout the whole neighborhood. Everybody always wanted to come to my grandma's house and play in the community. Everybody was welcome. If you need food, whatever else that you needed, everybody came to my grandmother's house. And even to this day, that still happens in the community. Even though the community has grown, people that's coming in know us, know our family, and they still come in, and she treats them just like family. Experiencing her first grandson, which is me, by the way. I'm her first grandchild, and she was really excited about that. And she was 35. Her son graduating from a university. Her baby boy, he was the only one the first one of the Robinsons in our family to graduate from a major university. And then her next life experiences is me, her grandson, who graduated from a university and still is college. And, during this interview, she told me, how proud of me that she was. So we're going to go back to the adopting a child. She knew a family and how, the kid was being raised and, done. So she went through social service, and she, adopted him, and he became a part of family. And with my grandmother, there's none of this, adopted son or stepchild or this. You're a son. She has, raised me since I was a few days old. Even though my mom was there, my mom had me young. She took me in, and I was pretty much raised like her son. And, my uncles were kind of like my brothers, and so on. But this is some of her life experiences. This is the things, she felt so accomplished in doing this. And, It was just a great experience just to sit and talk with my grandmother, throughout this process. Now, a couple of challenges that she faced. I think she said around in her 30s throughout her life was when she got diagnosed with, with diabetes. The next step was she had some doubt about providing for her children. Cause, my grandfather, he would still work and stuff, and he dealt with a little bit of, alcoholism and those type of things, some types of other substance abuses. But she said what got her through was prayer. She prayed and prayed and she relied on God to help see her through. So even though she had those doubts, she knew where her help was truly coming from. And, she was able to, prevail through that. Another challenge that she faced was adopting a child. He had bad behaviors because he was raised, where he was pretty much didn't have any discipline. He was allowed to do, what he wanted to do, kind of run the streets. And, he didn't, the issues in school that he had, her children didn't have. She never had to go to school for any issues that her immediate children had. But for adopted child, she had to go for him. And then eventually, he dropped out of school and he wanted to leave home. And so she let him make those choices. Even though she had that loving care, she allowed him to make choices. Just like she done me. She gave me the opportunity. She told me the things. But then she allowed me to make my own choices and live by that. But I also knew that I also had a place that I could come back to when I needed. Accomplishments. All our kids were healthy. No mental health issues. No defects. No anything. Did great in school. She always worked hard to provide for the children. Graduated from CNA school. She's working with people. She loves doing that. That's why she was in the nursing home setting for a good while. So she really enjoyed that. She really cared for that. And getting married to the man that she fell in love with at first sight was a great accomplishment. And, to be together for 57 years, that is something that this newer generation is lacking, and that's something that I hope that I could learn from. I'm going to pause this video right here because I'm about like at the 13-minute mark. So I'm going to pause here and I will see you on the next part of the video.